Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and I have a really spicy conversation that I want to share with you with my good friend, Junie Moon, who's a love and relationship coach. Before I do that, I want to say that I am sharing all kinds of great photos and little messages about my trip in Europe that I am currently on. So if you want to check those out, I share them in the Secret Sauce group. That's the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. Just go to Facebook, type that in, and check it out. I'm having the best time ever. Oh my gosh, Europe is so beautiful, so magical and wonderful. And Spirit is just guiding me to the most beautiful, wonderful experiences and just little reminders that I'm blessed. So I share some of those blessings visually. It's really fun in the Secret Sauce group. So check that out. And that's also, by the way, where all cool Heal Your Hunger things get announced. So definitely be with us there and be the first to know. And also, are you on my Instagram? Are you checking out my kind of fun, kind of crazy videos on Instagram at Tricia Nelson _. So Tricia Nelson and then the little underscore sign, and you'll see my crazy emotional eating videos. So they're kind of fun. I'm a bit of a ham, I missed my calling as an actress. So you guys have to put up with, you don't have to, you can check it out. But what you're getting is my actress wannabe. So it's kind of fun. And Instagram's always great and a great way also to stay in touch. Also, last but not least, if you haven't checked out the quiz, we have a new quiz on our new website, healyourhunger.com. Check it out. Find out if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between. Get your personalized score and also action steps according to your score. So just go to healyourhunger.com, take the quiz. It's like a 2-minute quiz. But you'll be on your way. Let's get you some healing around your relationship with food. It's not about diets after all. Stop dieting. Stop it. Stop dieting. Let's heal at a deeper level. There's so many aspects to being an emotional eater that don't get addressed by diets. Like our character traits that drive us to eat that have nothing to do with food. So I welcome you to the Heal Your Hunger Show. If you're here for the first time, we talk about things that are real, that are substantive, that relate to the experience, the unique experience of the emotional eater, because we really do have our own personality type and we really do have our own experience of life. And without understanding, the subtleties of that experience, it's not a one size fits all. When you hear great inspirational information, great health information, nutritious nutrition information, you have to filter it through the experience of being an emotional eater. You have to know who you are as an emotional eater, what this condition's about, so that you can better navigate the information you're taking in from all different sources, because it doesn't always translate. If you're a binge eater, if you've been out of control with food, if you have trigger foods, you're going to need to know more about yourself and more about healing the emotional eater personality in order to make use of health information out there, or in order to toss out information that seems good but will not work for you now that you know what those triggers are, what your personality traits are. So that's it starts with the quiz. Take the quiz, find out where you are on the emotional eating spectrum, and then let's rock and roll and get you some healing. Okay. This show today was just a really lovely conversation with my good friend, Junie Moon. She's the CEO of Midlife Love Out Loud, and she's the global love mentor, bestselling author, women's empowerment leader, and certified shadow work coach. And she's supported thousands of women over the past 30 years to claim what is their birthright, the freedom to be and love themselves without apology. When women experience this freedom to love themselves without apology, they attract lifelong next level love and experience an extraordinary second half of life, which I certainly am enjoying right now. And I share about that in this interview. So she's beautiful. You'll love her. And it's an important conversation. On with the show. Hey, Junie, good to see you.
Hey, honey, good to see you. And good to be seen.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. Again, we had you once and I thought it was time for a refresher because because you're an amazing woman and you're doing amazing things in the world. And I think this discussion about love and finding love is so important. And you and I are totally on the same page where it starts inside first, obviously. Yeah. And I think that's always important for all of us to be reminded of, is everything starts on the inside first.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Though we weren't taught that. And then we hopefully find out that that's how it goes. Yeah.
Well, it's true. And it's true for weight loss as well, right? Like people are always looking for the right diet, but they don't ever heal on the inside first. So and I know you've lost weight, a whole bunch of weight. So that experience as well. So we're going to talk about the inside stuff, but I do want to start with the whole online dating thing because, for women in midlife, which many of my clients are, and for myself in my 50s, having gotten divorced, and I went online for the first time, and it was a very strange experience for me. How do you teach women about even the mechanics of that and what that looks like?
Such a huge, huge, huge topic. And lots of different components, and as when women come to me and say, online dating sucks, online dating doesn't work. And then I start to ask them some questions. There are a few components that need to be looked at. So specifically with online dating strategies, it's like going to the gym, right? We get a gym membership and maybe we go once or twice or maybe 3 times in the first week and we're all gung ho, but then we're not getting the results fast enough. And then we give up, we have these high hopes and then it's like, oh, it's not working. But as we know, with weight loss, with changing our bodies and finding love, sometimes certainly with love, a lot of times with love, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment. And so when I start to ask people, because we could talk about which apps and we could talk about how to respond to men. I mean, I do a full retreat on this. At the end of the day, what are you doing? How committed are you to calling in a divine right partner, calling in somebody to meet you at this place in your life? So we need to start with, what is it you're wanting at this stage of life? That's the inside stuff. And then how are you going to do it? And so a lot of times when women come to me, I say, so, why do you hate it? What's going on? Well, I don't see anybody that I like. Well, how much time are you spending? Well, I'll be on the line at the grocery store swiping, which of course I will say, put your phone down when you're in the grocery store because Mr. Amazing might be right in front of you. Right. Bottom line is that there's ways to do it and ways to do it well. And most of the women give up too soon and are not fully committed. And they're looking at all the things that are not working. Oh, there are scammers. Nobody's messaging me. These guys are losers. So they have a lot of information around why it's not working. And they sometimes forget why they're in the game, so to speak. So we clean that up with strategies with online dating. What are the best strategies? How to have a good profile. And going back to what we started with, which is what's going on inside of you, because you're not the same person as you were when you were 20 or 30.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes me think about the fact that it's easy to walk away. It's not easy to walk away from a relationship or long-term marriage. But if you do, you can't walk right into an online dating app because there's some work to be done to clear out so much, right?
Yeah. Guys seem to do it much quicker because they just do. They're wired differently. Women, and that's primarily who I work with, we need some time to to empty out and to feel safe inside ourselves. I mean, that's a huge thing. So if you've been betrayed in your marriage, if the marriage was really messy and dysfunctional, which let's face it, most of our first relationships, significant relationships were, there's some unpacking of the bags that need to be done so that you don't recreate the same scenarios, because that is also what happens is suddenly you start dating somebody that seems different. And then suddenly you're in the same dramas, the same conversations. And then you want to give up because you think there's something wrong with you or all men are like that. And it's just not true.
Right. Yeah. That is so critical. Like, we don't want to bring our old habits to new relationships. Obviously, we want a new experience. Otherwise, you could have just stayed where you were, so you want to bring, have new experiences. What kind of work do you do to help people clear out those negative experiences from relationships?
Yeah. So I am a trained shadow worker. It's a specific body of work that I am certified and licensed to do. And so, what is the shadow? The shadow is the part that you may not be able to see because it's behind you. All the belief systems that are in your unconscious mind, all the conditioning that maybe you've picked up from those past relationships. And a lot of times from what you witnessed with your parents around what relationships are supposed to look like, or things that you don't want to ever have because you witnessed it with your parents. So the work I do is helping people to really see clearly what their patterns are. What are some of the things that are going on inside of them? The fear, the dread, what's going on between their ears that is creating the reality in online dating. I have a client right now. It's interesting. And this is a little tricky. And one thing I want to say is I'm the no rules girl. Like, I don't think there's any black and white, do this or don't do this. I have suggestions. So I just want to put that out there, because for everything I say, there's a dating coach or a love coach that's going to say the complete opposite. Like someone was
it's never one size fits all, right? Like, we're all individuals and we have different experiences at different times in our life. So that makes total sense.
Right. So one online dating person will say you don't have sex or physical connection until you've spent a certain amount of time and energy with this person. And that can be many, many hours and dates. And then there might be people that are like, oh, I slept with somebody on, the first couple of dates and I'm having the best time, the most amazing. So there's no black and white. It's who you are, which is why it's important to really know who you are and have your own back, be your own soulmate first. So with that said, I wanted to share with you, I was talking with a client the other day and she's like, I don't know what to do. And she shared her story with me about this guy who asked her out for breakfast, and she went out with him and they met at a coffee shop, and he didn't get me the menu. He didn't ask me if I was hungry. I didn't say anything because it was so awkward. And why didn't he? She had the coffee. She was hungry. And in her mind, she was like, well, I'll just eat later. And then she felt not taken care of. And she had a judgment about him not following through. So on one level, he didn't follow through with what he said on some level, but where was her voice? Right. Where was her, I'm hungry, where's the menu? And then she had this whole story about this guy not really being in his power or taking care of her. So it's not so black and white there, but suffice it to say, we looked at what was going on inside of her and what were her expectations about him. Because that's where I see a lot of women getting themselves tripped up with online dating, is all these stories around they should reach out to me. They should be taking care of me. I'm so sick of doing all these things. And again, there's a gray area here. And it's about, hey, what are our needs? How do I want to show up in this relationship? How do I want to be? And who am I drawing in? So it's a tricky landscape.
No, and that is so right on, because we sort of like bring our projections or our fears, really, which become projections, and to the relationship. And I hear that in women too, like they're friends of mine or whatever, they're sort of testing him, like testing to see if he's going to call, testing if he's going to make the first move and all this kind of thing. And we're almost like, like we're holding a really high bar, and it's hard. I kind of feel for the guy because she's like tapping her foot saying, you better do it right,
Right. And he might be amazing. And because he didn't do it right. And so we can stop there. But to your question of how do I help her? It's like, why is she setting it up like that?
Yeah.
What's underneath it? And ultimately is like, I don't want to do what I did in the past. My last relationship didn't show up for me. So there's this fear of I'm not going to be taken care of, or this person isn't going to have my back. So the pendulum swings to the other end.
Yeah.
And so they get uber over controlling with their looking and watching versus what I help people do, which is get clear about who they are and then enjoy dating and actually call in very different people because they're not with the checklist. They have the discernment, and then they can really have fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that, Junie. That's so right on. It's so hard when you have all these, rules and expectations. It limits what's possible.
Yeah.
Why limit God? Like, let God figure out the details.
And that's it. That's my slant as well, which is more surrendering to there's something else playing here, and I need to let go of the wheel and let spirit run it. With that said, with what you just shared, and I just felt it in my heart, which is why I do this work, is we're so hard on ourselves, and then we judge ourselves, and then we have these beliefs around I'll never find love, or something's wrong with me, or I have such high standards, or I might as well just throw in the towel. And at the end of the day, all of these strategies that are not working on some level because we're not getting what we want, those strategies are keeping us from getting hurt. Those strategies are keeping us from taking risks that we took in the past. That's the pendulum. And so for everyone that's listening and watching, it's like to have some deep compassion for why you are holding such a high level of standard and these rules. You've set those rules up because there's a part of you that is scared of getting hurt, because you've experienced certain things, because you don't want to go down the rabbit hole that you've gone in the past. So to be really, really gentle with yourself and notice that maybe you are over controlling. Maybe you are riding a really tight ship and maybe ready to throw in the towel because it feels too hard. That's a symptom of something that's going on inside of you that needs to be healed, needs to be looked at. And that's the beauty of what I call dating research, because when you're doing the dating research, if something is underneath your skin, guess what? It's underneath your skin. And then you get to go, oh, there's something going on here. Forget about him. He may not be Mr. Right, Mr. Wrong. Doesn't matter. You're uncomfortable. You're in it. What's going on?
Amen, sister. Woo, love it. And I'll just share my personal experience with this. Because I did, I separated and divorced in my early 50s. And, I had, I think, probably what I like to think is a healthy attitude about the whole dating thing. First of all, it was extremely strange to be on a dating app. I remember asking like a 30-year-old, like, is it okay if you text with more than one guy? Like, it feels really weird to me. He's like, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I got over that.
Good. It worked for you.
But it's a whole new world, online dating in your 50s. And so, but I have to say that to me, I approached it as I'm seeking a better relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to use this, like you said, dating research to learn about myself, because when you've been in a 30-year relationship, and you started in your 20s, like, there's a lot about yourself you may not yet know, because you set up the patterns, many times the dysfunctional patterns with your ex, and there's a lot still to learn about yourself, when you're just kind of coming out, stepping out. And so for me, I learned so much about what I like, what I don't like, what what I'm looking for. Like, I hadn't thought about any of these things really. I didn't sit around and think about the perfect guy. I didn't. So I went online but it evolved. Like, I'm like, oh, no, that's not going to work for me. Like, oh no, I don't like that type. I didn't know I had a type. Like, I mean, I actually don't have a type, but you sort of refine what is good for you, what's good for you, what you like, what won't work, and then using your voice, just the act of saying, I don't think it's a fit. That's a growth experience, right?
100%. And so many of my clients, that's one of the things I've heard often, which is like, it was a little uncomfortable, but it was so great to say, I enjoyed our time, but I don't think it's a fit. And, that fear of, I don't want to disappoint them, or I don't want to hurt them. That's a lot of our wiring, especially as women. Yeah. And then they were like, it felt so good because then I didn't play this game of, it was great or whatever. And I loved what you said, that it was over time that you refined. And the more you get to know what works for you, the more I truly believe the universe says, oh, you don't like that. Oh, you want that. And then the energy changes. I mean, I'm actually single right now by choice. I took myself off of all the apps by choice. Long story for another day. Bottom line is there was this man that saw me recently at a music thing, again, Cliff Notes, and he asked me out. And I was like, why not? Seems like a great guy. And guess what? He is a great guy, and not for me, for different reasons. And, I looked up at Spirit. I said, you got the first part right. You got those really well, but these are the parts that aren't. And so here's the thing. And this is why I want to tie it to what you just said. We are used to, in my opinion, going for the chemistry, going for the attraction, going for that was when we were in our 20s and our 30s. Now we know differently, and we're not looking for our baby daddies. We want someone who can fit our life and be compatible. Yes. I interviewed on my podcast recently someone, and she was like 3 H's, the head, the heart, and the hoo-ha. And most of the time we were like, my hoo-ha's not happy, which we have to listen to. Yeah. But can the intellectual, can we connect in the mind and what we vision for our life? Are we feeling the heart, the openness, and that deep connection of, this is someone I can be with, and am I attracted? But we're still wired, in my opinion, to just focus on, I'm not so sure the chemistry's there. And what I know from my experiences, I can see somebody who I may or may not be attracted to, but then they open up their mouth and I'm like, ooh, suddenly I am interested in them, mind, heart, and hoo-ha. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot here. And again, it comes back to, we are different 50 plus. Yeah. We've lived a life we've learned so much. We're wise women. And there's some things that we really need to unpack to really know who we are now, so that we can date better, differently, and do it in a way that we can, like I said, enjoy. Because if we're not enjoying it, why would we want to do that?
100%. And the fact is too, I find that when you're in your 50s too, 50s and up, but I find that you absolutely don't have to settle. Like, you're like, oh, you're not trying to, well, I guess I can make it work. And I think when the clock's ticking, you sometimes make, people make those kinds of concessions, but I'm sorry, but when you're in your 50s, it's time. Like, it's time to not settle for anything. And you don't have to. Not that you're looking for a perfect person. Nobody is perfect. But I do find that it's like, I feel like it's your game, your rules. Like, and I know we're not talking about real rules, like we just discussed,
but that's right. It's our life, our rules. No settling. Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of midlife, is that we do get to call the shots. This is our time. And I'm just shy of 60 right now, which is such a mind fuck. Sorry. I hope that was okay. But it's like, and it's not like, oh my God, I'm turning 60. It's more of a, wow, I'm turning 60. How do I want my life to be? And who do I want in it? And I'm not going to have anyone in it that is not going to enhance my life. I have a great life. Why would I want to settle? Because at the end of the day, oh, I don't have someone to tell them about my day. I can take care of myself. And sometimes truly, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I could use a hug, or I wish I had a guy to kind of go, it was a tough day, or, oh, celebration. But dang, I don't want just anybody.
Right.
I have me and I have my tools, and I am open to find somebody that fits. And when that person comes, great. And that's one of the things I also say to my clients, which is whether he or she comes in the next month, next year, or the next 10 years, do you really want to wait for them to be happy? Be happy now, enjoy your life now. And so do the healing work, get really clear, enjoy your life, partner yourself. And it's amazing how things shift with online dating. And online dating does work. It really does.
Oh God, I love that. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with online dating, and I did meet my guy on Bumble. Just for anybody who doesn't know my story, about 2.5 years ago, I was on Bumble for a short time, and I met the person I'm with now, and we've been together, it's a life thing. Like we're in it for the rest of our lives, a day at a time, but we're very committed that way. And but our attitude, both of our attitude was not I'm gonna find the right one. Like we both were like in it for the fun of it, like the fun of it, the interest of meeting people, just being out there. I mean, we were just coming out of COVID, so he's like, I just need somebody to go for a hike with. Like, I just want to get out, and I just, I have just kind of a joie de vivre type attitude about things in general. So that was sort of where I was at. And I found it very interesting to meet people and learn about people's professions and their life and all that. So I think if you do kind of have that light touch about it, then you do let spirit figure out the details, right?
Yeah.
Like he and I, Bumble doesn't give you a lot of options. So we didn't even have the check boxes, so many of the boxes. And we sometimes marvel at the fact that we did find each other because we match in so many ways that we didn't have a box for. Right. Yeah. And I think that's when you have that surrender to the process, surrender to spirit to work out the details. So I'm a believer for sure.
And I have had clients as well as friends that really did the inner work, really enjoyed the journey. And again, let go and let God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, take control, take over, and have found their soulmate. And when I say found their soulmate, I personally believe there's more than one soulmate per person. We have different people at different stages of our life to enhance us. That's another whole podcast topic. With that said, so many people, 50s, 60s, 70s, that have found true partnership and love. And it wasn't because they were, oh my God, I've got to find this person, and tight and desperate. It was, they were loving their life and open. And that's when it happens.
Yeah. I have to also say I was Jeroen's only Bumble date. I was his only online dating date. And I have to say, I told him, we texted for about 4 days before we had a date. And I'm a little silly and a little flirtatious. And I told him before we had the date, because it turns out that was his first, he hadn't actually, he was texting with people, but hadn't actually been on a date yet. Yeah. So I said, well, just so you know, I'm going to raise the bar for all your other dates. And I had this kind of fun confidence about me, and turns out he didn't have any other dates. That was Love it. Well, smart man. Yeah, exactly. Very smart. So,
and that confidence, because that's the other piece of it. The confidence is so attractive. Mm-hmm. If you walk into a date or get on a phone call and there's the inner life of, oh gosh, is he the one? And oh gosh, I hope I'm not too much. Or, oh gosh, I hope I don't say the wrong thing. That energy, whether he hears it or not, he will sense it. Mm. And when you say something like, hey, this is going to be I'm going to raise the bar. Like that is, granted, depends on how he perceives it, but how you said it and owning it, most of the time, men are going to be like, wow, she sparkles. She's owning her light.
Yeah.
And that is so beautiful. And that's one of the things that, the dates that I've been on, they've said, your smile, your confidence, your bubbliness, I'm just being me and enjoying it. So to find our own inner light and to love ourselves opens us up to such magic.
That's it. And that's so true. We're not looking for somebody it's such a cliche, but it's so true. We're not looking for somebody to make like our other half to make us whole. Yeah. We have to come to the relationship whole. I mean, whole, who's ever completely whole, but I just mean mostly whole as we've ever been.
Yeah.
And that's, and attracting somebody else in that same space.
And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. If it's too perfect, there must be something wrong. If it's too perfect, you're both walking on eggshells with masks on and trying to be something that you're not. That's perfect, right?
Yeah,
which really does not feel very good, right?
No, we want freedom to be
yourself and to really love the journey and be able to have your bumps in your authentic way and be able to heal together. Because that's what I love about relationship is it's a safe container. Because I've had what I call next level love. I've had beautiful, beautiful men in my life, and they were a container for growth and me being able to go, oh, there's something I need to heal and something they need to heal. We were beautiful mirrors for each other while we loved each other, even when we hated each other,
Yeah. And you didn't
that healthy hate.
And you didn't hold on too tightly. So you learned the lesson and then you moved on when you felt the time was right. So that's really sweet.
Exactly. I'm not in my fear. I mean, there are moments I'm not going to be like, I'm so, there are moments where it's like, wow, like how long will it take before I meet my next person? There are moments when it's like, wow, what if I don't meet my next person? I mean, there are those thoughts. And I know a lot of my clients have that fear. And I have my moments of fear too. However, I bounce right back because I have a great life and I've had great love, and not everybody has. I get that. I just know that my life is valuable and I'm not going to wait for someone to give me a great life. I am open to having a great love when that person shows up. And while that might not happen in the next day or so, it's all good. It's all good. I choose differently.
Yeah. And it's all a journey. And I think we can, they're having the right perspective too on the things we've been through, and healing the wounds, right, of our past choices. Yeah. And learning, appreciating the lessons we got from those relationships, I think can help us as we're moving forward into new relationships.
Exactly. And we have learned a lot. And some of those lessons have moved us forward. And some of those lessons have also laid down some beliefs that hold us back. And so we need to know like what our superpowers are, what our strengths are, what are we bringing to the table, not just with dating and those type of relationships, but all of the people in our life. What are we bringing from our hearts and from what we've learned? And how may we not be sharing our truth? Like, the client I was sharing before, afraid to speak up and go, I'm hungry. Can we get a menu?
Yeah. No more passive communication, ladies. Be direct. Be direct.
Yes.
Say what you need.
Things you need. And to not swing to the love, like, what? I need to have a menu because I'm hungry. You said you were going to, that would be very edgy. But to be able to go, what? I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to order. Did you want something? And then just see what happens. Be curious. Be curious. How is he going to be?
I love that. How can people find you? And I think you have a gift for people to just start on their journey of discovering more about themselves.
Absolutely. So my website is midlifeloveoutloud.com. And if you put a slash after that and write quiz, midlifeloveoutloud.com/quiz, I have this really cool quiz that helps you discover your love avatar. How ready are you for a relationship? What is your superpower? I give a full report, a pretty detailed report about what it is that is your strength or strengths, and where you might have some blind spots. And I give you some next steps to really support you in your love journey, whether you're ready to call in somebody or just wanting an extraordinary second half of life, because you don't have to have a partner to have an extraordinary love life. Truly.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's a great quiz. It's a fun quiz. I encourage people to take it.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. Junie, it's so good to have you back. Thanks for coming. I love this conversation. It's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And for everybody, listening, if you are hoping to have that love, it's totally possible, but it starts with you. It's not out there. That love
it's
is
not
inside.
out there. Yeah. Love is an inside job, and then the outside shows up.
You bet.
But seriously, it really is an inside job, and our lives are so precious. And as we get older and the clock is ticking, and as someone pointed out the other day, it's like, the first 30 years, the second 30 years, I'm entering the third portion of the 30 years. It's like precious time. And how do I want to be in it? And that's for everybody. How do you want your life to be? So show up fully. And if you're not loving your life, let's figure out why.
Let's make some changes. My last question for you, Junie, is this being the Heal Your Hunger show, what is your deepest hunger?
Oh, wow. My deepest hunger. The first thing that comes to mind for me personally is and I've used this language before, is to squeeze the juice out of life as much as I can. And for me, that's travel. That's like my biggest hunger, is to experience as many cultures and as many places on this planet. Because I love this adventure called the human life, and that we're on a friggin' planet, we're on a planet. This is like crazy. So that's my biggest hunger, is to take advantage of this life as much as I can.
Beautiful. And you're doing it. You're such a love. And I just love your spirit.
Thanks, honey. Back to you. I love what you bring to the table. So good.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please share this show with anybody you know is looking for love, and we will catch you on the next show.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.